Happy holidays and welcome to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show with myself, Aaron, and Tom. Christmas time is here, just a few days away. And what better way to celebrate than have a podcast discussing our favorite Christmas gifts of all time? And to help us do that, Aaron Silvers and J.R. Huffman are back. Happy holidays, guys.
Hey, happy holidays and good evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy
Yeah.
holidays.
And hopefully everyone is having a happy holidays. It's been a rough time as of late with some sicknesses and illnesses. And for everyone who wants to know where we've been for basically the last month, it's hard for all four of us with our shoot jobs to come together right at the holidays. So we apologize for being a little bit late and tardy with getting a new episode up. But we're here tonight. And what better way, like I said, to celebrate Christmas? And let's talk about some of the great gifts that we've gotten for Christmas in our lifetimes. And this just isn't just about our childhoods. This is going to be some of our favorite gifts that we've gotten. And hopefully, this brings up some really good memories for some of us and some good conversations because some of us have probably had some of the same toys and gifts. And so it could be a really good, fun conversation. With that being said, there is a lot kind of going on right now, and I want to make sure I give some time. Tom, your book, Bigfoot, Living with the Truth, is still doing very well right now. Congratulations on that. Any update on anything you got going on with that?
Just pushing it a little bit, trying to get it out there in front of people. Looking at some Bigfoot conferences and things like that coming up. I talked to a gentleman today over at one of the local stores in town that he's thinking about putting a book signing together with some of the local authors in the area. So maybe we can get something together and have something like that. But yeah, the response has been great, and I appreciate everyone's feedback and just it's a blessing that people, even one person in the world, wanted to read this book. So to have the outpouring of response that I've had has been pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and you stayed pretty steady on the on the rankings. So congratulations on that. And since the last time we spoke, my book Team Over Me also dropped over at Barnes and Nobles as well. Don't have anything special planned right now for that, except for just signing books for the people for the holidays. Trying to get those out to as many kids and families as we can. So greatly appreciate all the support with that as well. All right, so here we go. Christmas time is here, and I'll start off with my number three favorite gift of all time. And I'm gonna go back to 1983-ish, 84-ish. This is long before Tom was born, so he can say one of his wisecrack jokes. But there was a very popular kids programming called G.I. Joe that was going on, and it was hitting hard all across the U.S. You had Cobra and G.I. Joe battling it out, and that Christmas when I woke up and I had the G.I. Joe base sitting there in my living room, and my dad, spoiler alert, my dad had helped Santa um, put a lot of the G.I. Joe figures all in the prominent positions, and there's this big war going on between them and Cobra across my living room floor. Man, you talking about for like a 5-year-old kid, it was an amazing sight to see. And G.I. Joe is still one of my favorite childhood, uh, you know, cartoon series. And I love the movies as well. I wish they could do a little bit more with that. It was a little bit teased this year too in the new Transformers movie that there's going to be a little extra G.I. Joe coming. It's just so much to do with G.I. Joe, and it's really held steady over the last, couple of decades. But G.I. Joe's base was my number three. Anybody else have a G.I. Joe base?
I did not know.
Any G.I. Joe lovers besides myself?
Oh yeah, I had about everything but that Tom or Aaron and the USS flag, but a buddy of mine didn't have the USS flag or the base, but I had about every other thing else.
The USS flag would have been prime real estate back then. I wasn't lucky enough to ever have that, but I did have some friends like you're talking about did have the aircraft carrier, and it was huge, and it was a big deal back then for sure. The actual airplanes actually fit on there. It was that big of a toy, and so yeah, I'd hate to see how much in today's economy. I would say the GI Joe base now. I'm not sure how much it went for back then. Would probably cost a parent probably over $200 for the base now. I would assume
Easy.
if it was a new product out for Christmas right now. So,
Yeah.
all right, Jared, let's go to you. You're number three.
All right, my number three is kind of an off skit of G.I. Joe Transformers. A lot of people don't know about this cartoon that came out, but I fell in love. It was right after my grandma passed away, so I was trying to find something new to get into. It was a TV show called Mask, M-A-S-K. And I absolutely fell in love with Thunderhawk and the Piranha. And I told my uncles, and they saw me, and every time we go to Kmart or wherever we went, I was like, that's what I've got to have. And I totally forgot about it. And they must have put it in the big guy's ear. And Christmas morning, I woke up, there they were. So that's my number three. There's two of them, so I count them, they're like a tag team. Thunderhawk and Piranha. One of them's like a Ferrari with the wings come up and has missiles to shoot. The other's like a purple crotch rocket bike. But those are my two for my third.
Last Crusaders, man. Let me tell you, that's one of the better theme songs of that era as well. And it was kind of like you're talking about. It's kind of a mix of a GI Joe and Transformers. Each vehicle could turn into something else. You had a Jeep that could also flip into a boat. You know, such a great series. I had tons of Mask. Tom, do you know about Mask?
Never heard of it.
I have not either. No.
Ryan, how old are you?
I'm 38.
See, I figure you should probably know some Mask. So YouTube Mask, uh, when we're done here, and that the theme song, I would say both y'all's probably at least heard of, whether you watched it or not.
Couldn't tell you.
All right,
Sing the theme song. That way I know what it is.
maybe if I wasn't getting over the flu, type B. I'd probably sound like a mix between Jesus and Fergie, right here.
So 1,000 copies an hour with that.
Speaking of which, Jesus and Fergie, Aaron, Tom recently just watched Step Brothers for the first time.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
that is a shocker.
Yeah,
I hope it's on your top list of comedies now.
it's great. It really is.
It is.
Will Ferrell's always been hit or miss for me, and everybody talks about how great it is, and I'm just like, I remember the previews, and I never wanted to really watch it, and we just decided the other night we're gonna watch it. It's the dumbest, funniest movie I've ever seen in my life. Like,
it's
it's
great.
so dumb, but it is so funny. Like I couldn't get enough of it. There's some great moments there.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Tom, you're number three.
So my number three has a lot of nostalgia and memory for me. Now I don't think it was popular, at least people that I know, but I remember the commercial for it, and I wanted it so bad. And it's also the first and last Christmas gift that I ever went snooping around for to see if I was actually going to get it. And I actually found this in my parents' closet. And I was super thrilled the night that I found it. However, by the time Christmas rolled around, I wasn't all that excited because I knew what I was getting. So it holds a lot of I don't know, a little bit of a nostalgia thing there for me because of that reason. I will never forget it, but it's the Hero Quest board game. And it was all over TV. And it was like, let's be honest, I was too young to even understand how to play the board game. And I think you needed to have like 4 to 6 people to play it. And it was just me because my sister wouldn't play it. But it had like little characters of goblins and different creatures, and there were like little bitty like bookcases you would build, and like just weird like Clue meets Dungeons and Dragons or something. I don't even know how to explain it. There were like um, warriors with swords, and you would battle the different people or whatever. I never did understand how to play it because I was probably only about 6 or 7 at the time. But I would set up that board game and make these different battles and stuff with these characters, and but it always holds a place in my heart because I remember that feeling of opening the closet and seeing it in there, and then trying to not give it away that I had already seen what this present was going to be. But it was something that I had wanted for, probably 6 months. You know,
I believe Santa would have hid that in your parents' closet.
I
That
don't
is
think it was
cool.
from Santa. It was from my mom.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Santa probably would have hid it somewhere better for sure.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's not a good place to hide it, really. It was, I mean, you just open the door and there it is.
All right, Aaron. Number 3.
Yeah, so number 3 for me, of course, the podcast here we theme wrestling, of course. So I've got to throw something there in. So this one here, I would probably I'm trying to remember ages for stuff that I got all this stuff, but I would think very very late 80s, very early 90s for this gift. I would have been about I don't know 6 to 8 years old probably. Back when Wrestling Buddies came out, WWF Wrestling Buddies. So I remember Hills department stores. I don't know if anybody remembers those or not, but Hills department stores was always the place to go. Besides, of course, Toys R Us and KB toy stores, Hills always had the jackpot for Hasbro figures. And then when the Wrestling Buddies come out, I remember big displays of Wrestling Buddies. So one Christmas, me and my brother were 15 months apart. He's a little younger than I am, but he got the Macho King Savage and an Ultimate Warrior, and I got, of course, Hogan. I've always told you guys Hogan's my guy. So I got a Hogan and I got a Sting with the white tights and the blue scorpion that year. So two Wrestling Buddies for me that year. And I will tell you, it is what it is. I ain't embarrassed to say it. I would say that Sting Wrestling Buddy was probably my pillow for several years over the years. So, it was a pillow on the go. It's sitting there watching TV or going to bed or whatever. That was my pillow for a long time. So I'd say those Wrestling Buddies is definitely on my list.
Man, you saying Hills Department Store really brought me back.
Oh yeah.
Used to be located over near where Sky Zone is now in Evansville, Indiana. And I'll just always remember them having these displays like you're talking about. They would have the toys out in like these little glass displays, basically. And man, such a fun store Hills was.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I'm kind of like you, right? So as much as I was trying to think of some stuff, I couldn't deny one wrestling thing in my list. And my number 2 is actually the Pal Driver album.
Oh yeah.
Listen, to have pro wrestling theme music at my house that I could emulate as I'm wrestling, the pillows on the bed, and when I had my action figures, I could hit that and walk the guys to the ring with the music, getting Demolition's music, getting Hulk Hogan's music. Oh man, it's such a good time. And I loved anytime WWE actually would put out like the albums on CDs and stuff. I would try to buy everything I could. The Ruthless Aggression DVD sets, the SmackDown CD sets. Even with they had Wyclef John, doing the Rock's "Know Your Rose," song and stuff like that. But the Pile Driver album was it, and mine actually came with the music videos, VHS tape along with it, and I would sit down and watch that quite a bit. Great time. If you're a pro wrestling fan and you can find, I don't know if they've got a DVD version of those music videos out anywhere on eBay or not, but if you are somebody who still has a VHS player somewhere or a cassette tape deck player, the Pal Driver album has some of the best pro wrestling music of all time on it. And that's some fantastic memories for me. Nightmares for my parents, they keep telling me to turn it down back in the day. But yes. All right, JR, number 2 for you.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to 1979. I don't even know if you were around then, Aaron, but
I was born.
okay.
My birth year.
I remember going to the drive-in theater in 1977 or 78 and watching Star Wars for the first time. And I was just like we talked about the hoopla of Hills Department Store, Kmart, all the different department stores, retail stores, Walmart. They all had everything displayed out, and I saw the Millennium Falcon. And my family saw how much I wanted that. And I knew that I probably wouldn't get it because it was so expensive, but um, I woke up Christmas morning and the first thing I opened was Chewbacca, and then I opened up Han Solo, and then I opened up some other things. I was big into Superman then, and I was 6 years old, and I thought we were finished, and my uncle said, "Hey, you forgot this one," and it was a Millennium Falcon. We sat there for about 2 hours. I remember dropping it on his foot on accident, and back then that stuff was heavy. He said a few choice words, but it didn't break it or his foot. So we were all right with that. But Millennium Falcon, 1979, if I still had that, it'd be worth a nice chunk of change. Don't know whatever happened to that thing, but that's my number 2 favorite gift of all time.
Wish I had a lot of my old stuff right now in the box. It'd be great. So, all right, Tom, you're number 2.
So my number 2 actually came from my grandmother. When I was a kid, my mom's side of the family always celebrated, got together on Christmas Eve. So we would have a get together and celebration with the whole family, aunts, uncles, cousins, and my grandma, and it was a big ordeal. And then Christmas morning, of course, Santa would come and we would get gifts from my mom and stuff. So we're all together. We're opening our gifts for our event at Christmas Eve, and I open up. It was 1998, and it was for regular PlayStation 1. It was Warzone, WWF Warzone, and it was a moment where when I opened it up, I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." But I was also sad in that moment because I wasn't smart enough to put 2 and 2 together. I didn't own a PlayStation at the time. So I just thought, well, my grandma knew that I liked wrestling, so she got me a PlayStation game thinking maybe I already had a PlayStation. Little did I know that's what my mom got us kids the next morning was a PlayStation. So, of course, I was all down in the dumps. I was like, man, I got this cool game, but there's no way I'm going to be able to talk my mom into buying me a PlayStation. And then the very next morning when I opened it up, I was happy as I could ever be. And I will tell you, I wore that game out. I got to the point where, and it's a pretty simple game, let's be honest, but you could memorize the moves, whether it was left, right, triangle, up, down, square, whatever it was, you could memorize what the move was with, what you had to push. So you knew what you were doing. Whereas later on, when games started getting more complicated, I feel like you're just pushing buttons and things happen. But you could actually easily tell what move you were doing next. And I learned a lot of move sets like that. And it was a pretty big Christmas for me once it was all said and done. But the moment that I opened it, I was like, I don't know about this because I can't even use it.
Is that the one that was like player one? Player
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Uh,
And I thought the graphics were good when it came out. You go back and look at it now, whoa.
Yeah, you go back
Come a
even
long
like
way.
the old Madden games, you're thinking back then, oh my gosh, this is so great. And then you see them now on like TikToks and stuff like, oh my God, I used to play that. Like this looks horrible. So yeah, good memory, good memory. Aaron, number 2.
Yes, so growing up a little bit, there were certain years the family didn't have a lot of money, but I will tell you that we had a Christmas one year that me and my brother would not shut up every time we went into Sears, in the mall in Bloomington, Indiana. we always seen computers, and we always wanted a computer because everybody was having computers at home. Well, we're like, well, we want a computer. And every time we stopped, parents would talk to the guy that was trying to sell it to us, and he would tell us all the specs about it and, all that good stuff. This is probably about 90, I'd say 98 to 99, somewhere around that time frame. But anyway, that year for Christmas, that was, I think that and maybe a couple small things that we got together as a gift. We got our first computer that actually we thought, excuse my language, but we thought we were the shit that year because we had a computer, but we also had a computer that could burn DVDs and we could watch movies on. So that was the time whenever, everybody was pirating and saying, I'm going to create my CD of whatever my favorite songs are and, recording DVDs and all that good stuff. I'm pretty sure it was a Hewlett Packard. I can't remember the brand, but it was right around Hewlett Packard. Gateway was really big around that time, but I'm pretty sure ours was Hewlett Packard. But that computer, it burned a lot of CDs for us. And of course, that was about the time frame. I'm sure some of you guys maybe remember where you and your friends would trade CDs about what they made and what you made. And, hey, let me burn that for you tonight. What's some of your favorite songs? I'll get them and I'll put them on there, whether it was Napster or LimeWire or whatever the case may be. So I'd say that desktop computer was definitely one of those great gifts that I'll never forget.
I think when we all first got our first computer, we all thought we were the shit.
Well, for sure.
I mean, it was just
Absolutely.
so groundbreaking. I mean, and then you better hope that nobody called the house to kick you off the internet. Yeah.
Aaron, you were talking about your pile driver in the music videos. I remember a friend of mine in junior high where he had a computer and we could play the wrestling music on his computer and we could hear it outside the window where we could wrestle in the yard. So we would have WCW themes entrance, and we're out in the yard wrestling and shit. But that was back in the computer heyday, I guess you could say. I don't know.
Oh, man, good memories, good memories. All right, my number one is around. It's kind of iffy on the year. I think 96 or 97. And Tom kind of mentioned it. I kind of all I wanted was a PlayStation. PlayStation 1 was out, had already had in my lifetime a Super Nintendo and an NES, and I even had an old Sega Master System at one point. But here's this PlayStation, and I was lucky enough that my mom and dad ran a video store at the time where they would rent out the PlayStations. So I had opportunity to play one. But the PlayStation at that time was going for $149. $149. And I know nowadays, I mean, tons of people would just run out and buy their kids a PlayStation for $149 right now, if that's all it was. But my parents at the time were just like, it's too much for a game system. It's too much for a game system. And, kind of like Tom, you kind of want to be disappointed, but you kind of want to be understanding as well. I'm in high school at the time, so I kind of understand the concepts of things a little bit more. And so my dad throws out an idea of why don't we get a dog instead? And I was like, okay, let's get a dog. Now, again, the PlayStation was $149, and my dad paid $250 for the dog, right? So who really wanted the dog? My dad wanted the dog, right? But that dog, Pepper, ended up being my favorite Christmas present ever. Loyal dog, loyal best friend for over, 13 years of my life, going into adulthood. Right after Christian passed away, right after Christian was born, that Pepper passed away. And it was kind of like a passing of a torch. I felt like at the time, like I've moved out, I've got my own family now, and Pepper was like, I'm out. So, but that dog for a good 13 years was one of my best friends in the world. My parents traveled a lot, and were gone with my mom being on the school board, and my sister was irresponsible and would leave me home a lot. And so it was just me and the dog quite a bit. And that dog is without a doubt my favorite Christmas present of all time. Pepper D Dog. the dog that didn't cost that much for my dad to get outside of the PlayStation. I did get the PlayStation the next Christmas, and my dad actually paid more that year than he would have the year before. So, all right, go ahead, Jr.
All right, so I've had to say this for my number one favorite gift of all time, and it is wrestling related. But a little backstory is I was also grew up very poor, and kind of had a split family when my dad passed away when I was really young. So my uncles kind of stepped in, and when I was with them during the holidays, they would take me and do things and get things for me. I went to territory events. Maybe some of y'all have told about my stories about how I got into wrestling and how I became a wrestling fan at a young age. There's a lot of local territories that I've been to, like high school events and National Guard armories. Never been to a wrestling event, a real wrestling event. 1994, I got tickets Christmas morning at the Norfolk Scope, 1994, in Norfolk, Virginia, for the pay-per-view World War III. And I absolutely lost my mind because Hulk Hogan, Sting, Macho Man, Ric Flair, I even hit Giant on the back. I got down by the railing and I smacked at him. And then I pointed at this because he turned around. I turned to this little kid and pointed at him because I was an adult and I didn't want him to slap the shit out of me. So I just pointed at this little kid and he just kind of waved him off like that. But that's the greatest gift that I can remember. I mean, there's so many things that's monumental, sentimental. But as far as wrestling fandom, that was the first time I ever got to go to a pay-per-view. Been to many events after that fact, getting older and had a little more money. But that was the greatest gift I ever got because I got to see everything I saw on TV. It got translated in real life for the first time. So that's my, it was that. Of course, that was kind of a down tick for WCW at the time before the NWO and all that kicked in, but not for me because I got to see Sting and all the greats up close and personal, and that's my number one Christmas gift or favorite gift of all time.
Who won the World War III that year?
I'm I've had a few things happen to me since then. I believe it was Macho Man, if I'm not mistaken. I believe Macho Man won that, and he had a title shot.
Yeah, for people who don't know World War III, it's 3 rings, battle royal, and it's a great time, and yeah, ooh, man, in Norfolk too, and that's a wrestling hub, so I bet that crowd was hot for that,
Very hot.
man. All right, Tom, you're number one.
So my number one started an addiction. It hasn't been too bad lately, but in 2015, my wife bought me, and it's back there behind me, the Winged Eagle Championship title belt replica. It's my first one that I ever got, and I've gotten several different ones since then. But I never, at the time, of course, we didn't have the money to buy anything like that very often, but the further I, went with my job and the more money I was making, there's some times where you can splurge a little. And when I do splurge, that's kind of some of the things that I splurge on. But it was a big deal because it was the first one that I ever got. And, it was a pretty sentimental title. That's basically the title that, all the greats held up until Stone Cold changed it to the Attitude Era belt, which is back there as well. And so, when you talk about, The Undertaker and Hogan and, unfortunately Brett did hold it, but, there's been some really great champions that have held that belt. And it's very special. And then for my wife to actually buy it for me for Christmas really meant a lot because she, for the most part, just puts up with my wrestling obsession. She does enjoy it to an extent. She likes going to the live shows and things like that. But some of the other stuff she just ignores me about. For her to actually buy that for me was a really cool moment.
Yeah, I keep saying I'm gonna buy myself a belt one day, and you are always sending me belts. You just did the other day. It was like, look at the sale they got on the belts. Like, what are you waiting
Yep,
on?
sure did.
And it's just one of those things. Like, I want one so bad, but I also don't want to buy one either. It's weird like that. It's weird like that. I'm gonna get one eventually. Get one eventually, but yeah, you've got a nice collection there, and you're right. If you're gonna get the one to start, you got to get the winged eagle, the original winged eagle. That's the one you got to get. Unless you
If
were just a WCW NWA person, then you get the old school Ric Flair. But that's the one you got to get for me right there. So
the thing is with belts, and I don't think it's just me, once you get the one, you start getting itchy for the others. So
Yep.
I need to
I
hear
got a
that.
tattoo.
I can go with that because I know that one. So yeah. All right, Aaron, you're Uno.
Yeah, so kind of a repeat that we've heard so far, but I think this was 96, I believe, because it's PlayStation 1, by the way, the first PlayStation. So PlayStation 1, if I remember right, it came out in 95 in the US, and I think we got it the year after, is when I got it. But the PlayStation 1, even growing up in my younger age of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, PlayStation, I guess, started out my teenage years, and I spent a lot of time on that PlayStation. So PlayStation is definitely one of my favorite gifts of all time. When you look at the list of games that was on that, I probably was an expert at MLB 99. I'll just be honest. I still remember today exactly where to put a fastball to where nobody can hit it. The computer would never hit it. So that kind of thing. You had NBA Street and all the street games that came out on that. You had NBA Live. You had the Warzone, of course. WCW versus the World. That was another good one too. And then Nightmare Creatures. I don't know if anybody ever played Nightmare Creatures on PlayStation 1. But that was a different one that I didn't play a lot of games other than sports and wrestling, but that was one that I got into. Nightmare Creatures was one of those that was I still remember that too. With there was a certain you had a mission, but you were also fighting off zombies in this game to get to the evil power that's controlling everything. And there was a certain striking where you jump in the air and swing your sword, and it would kill the zombie with one strike. And I still remember that today too. So PlayStation 1 for me, a lot of years there behind that one. Of course, I've had 2, 3, and 4, but 1 sticks out to me the most.
Yeah, I used to be such an avid gamer growing up, and I don't get a lot of time as I'd like to now. Every year, I try to get the new MLB The Show every single year and play it as much. Growing up with Christian being a big time gamer too, it's kind of our let's say our interest on gaming is different. He's got his sets. He likes a lot of the role playing type stuff, like games, because that's more big. That's what's big now with the kids is role playing games, more than what we did. I remember when Resident Evil though came out, and that
Yep.
game was freaky. I just remember that, but I've never been a big Call of Duty type guy or nothing like that. But yeah, PlayStation, video games, great escape, great memories with that type of stuff as well. But Nightmare Creatures, huh?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the PlayStation Store tonight on my PS5 and see because sometimes they have the original old games like that download. I'm gonna
Yep.
see if it's on there, maybe to download.
And it's
Speaking of
like,
which,
and like you said, Aaron, it goes with today's generation of what they like with the missions and it's different. So
I want to point this out. Okay, so like I said, I was sick with the flu over the last week, and I'm telling you, it kicked my tail. Um, but I had a buddy recommend a game for me the week prior and told me it was the most relaxing game that you could ever play. And he said, and it's free on PlayStation right now, and you need to go and get it because it's free, it don't cost nothing, and it's the most relaxing game. He said, you like to stay up late at night. It's called Power Washer Simulator.
I've heard about
He
this.
lied to me. He lied to me. There's nothing satisfying about this game. You go around and you power wash things, but it will legit take you the amount of time it would take you in real life to power wash these things. And he didn't tell me this. So I'm out doing Mr. Miyagi's backyard, and it's like a 6-hour friggin' project for 450 fake dollars. Like, I deserve to get really paid for doing this. Like, it's stressful. So if any of y'all download Power Washing Simulator, there's nothing about that game that is relaxing. It's not. Yeah. My wife told me I could just gone outside and power wash the house if I was that bored. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Don't download that. All right. I had to get that off my chest because I know Billy will watch this episode. And so I wanted him to know. No, Billy, no. All right. Hopefully everybody will have a safe and Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, hope you have a good overall weekend, enjoying it with family, because I think that right there is now our best gift that we all have, is to be able to spend time with the people we want to spend time with. And so I'm hoping everyone's going to be able to do that. Hope people are able to go out and watch spectacular movies like The Iron Claw, which once everyone's kind of got their hand into that and watched it, we're going to have a podcast just on The Iron Claw because Tom has seen it already. His score is up on Letterboxd right now if you want to cheat and see what he had to say about it. I plan on seeing it in the next week, hopefully. Aaron, have you seen it yet?
No, so JR and I are going to be definitely going next Friday. We're going to meet up in Evansville. So,
Man, I'm ready. I'm ready for that. I'm just ready for that movie to come out. And we also have after the first of the year, we will start our awards time, and we'll have our male and female episodes of our wrestlers of the year. We're also going to do an episode with everyone that's right here on our favorite pro wrestling movies or movies starring pro wrestlers. So that's going to be fun as well. So stay tuned. We'll be dropping it soon, but we're going to do the awards first because we've got to get that. We've got to get some people to help us break that down on both sides. But before I let you go, all right, I do want to know, as of right now, who is everyone's pick for the Royal Rumble men's match and women's match? And I'm just kind of curious as we get closer how this changes. Okay. Tom, men and women's Royal Rumble winners, go.
I'm gonna go with Cody and Bailey.
Okay. I'm going to go with Punk and Bailey. Aaron?
I'm going to go with Cody. And let's go with Dakota Kai.
JR.
That'd be interesting.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say Cody as well for the men's and for the women. I'm gonna shoot Becky Lynch.
Okay.
I'm not
That'll be
actually gonna
interesting.
shoot Becky Lynch. I'm picking Becky Lynch. Just clarifying.
That's a fair point.
Just clarify. Yeah, a lot of happenings right now in WWE. There's a lot of rumors starting to fly. And again, it's the most wonderful time of the year for pro wrestling as we're making that march towards WrestleMania. Royal Rumble season's here. Then we got Elimination Chamber. We got day one, I think is what they're calling it, right?
Monday Night
Coming up.
Raw.
Monday Night Raw's
Yeah.
day one's coming up as well.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Man, a lot of great stuff coming out. And again, the Iron Claw, we're going to dive deep into that too very soon. Very interested to watch that and comment some of your favorite Christmas gifts to us on this video. Love to hear what some people's favorite Christmas gifts were on this podcast as well. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, buy Tom's book, buy my book. And if you see these other two guys out, give them a high five. And go Cubs, go! Right, Aaron. We're gonna make some moves, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Gonna
we're
make
gonna make
some
some
moves.
moves.
I hope
Jeez
so.
Louise. I mean, the Dodgers basically bought everybody but us four so far. So, oh Lord, $1.5 billion on two players.
Yep.
I'm glad
Wild.
somebody's not. Yeah, I'm glad some people ain't having trouble buying PlayStations. All right. For myself, Tom, Aaron, and JR, we appreciate every one of y'all. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you all next time.